Right On SC patrons. If you were listening to today's show, you know we had some mic issues. I had some mic issues. First thing, and so I wanted to give you a little bit of a maybe behind the scenes tour of what it looks like in here. So here's our board, right? And here's the microphones. I won't show you Rex because you guys know he hates to be on camera. These earphones that hang here plug in underneath the board. And I usually replace them with my earphones. And for the first, good 6 minutes of today's show, I couldn't hear anything through my earphones. So then I took my earphones out and put those earphones on. Those still didn't work. And then I ended up ultimately pulling in this cord, which is actually where you would plug your earphones in if you were a guest on the show and sitting on the other side of the wall. So that's a challenge when the technology doesn't work. But fortunately, the topic that we had to discuss today, I don't even know that we could have made it last the whole hour if we'd gotten started right on time because it's a pretty short topic. So we talked about the iceberg theory. Only 10% of what the writer gives you, the writer should only give you about 10% of the story, and you should be able to fill in the rest of it. And the question is always, what pieces of the story should you be given? And I believe that you can do this on a scene-by-scene basis. I believe you can get dialogue down to an economy of words. I love subtext. So I love the idea that what people say to each other is not actually what they mean. We don't see it very often in commercial fiction. In commercial fiction, people typically deliver the kind of dialogue that number one, people don't usually talk that way, but it has to be said out loud. Somebody has to say it, right? Or number two, they'll deliver very basic dialogue that people use all the time, and it doesn't move the story forward in any way. And I don't know how long it's been since we did an episode on dialogue, but maybe that's worth revisiting, because I think the iceberg theory works best in dialogue.
Absolutely.
When you don't know what the other person knows about you, right? Strangers meet one another, and what do they say to each other when they don't know? And it can't be how get to know you chit chat. Maybe they're not in an experience to be able to do that. They don't have the luxury of a get to know you chit chat. I don't know if you talk to anybody on election day, but if you're standing in line waiting to vote, this is the most random of circumstances. You happen to live in the same precinct. You happen to be showing up at the polling place at the same time. What do you talk about while you're there? Well, you're there for a specific reason, but people don't typically talk politics, right? So should you be talking politics with the people that you're in line with? That's why you're there. You have that in common, right? These kinds of things, the subtext in those conversations, I think is worth playing with. And that, I think, is where you get that iceberg subject, the submersive, the submerged part of, really, am I trying to convince the other people standing in line with me to vote the way I'm voting? Or do I just not care? What are our motivations? All of that is just me sort of monologuing. It is really hot in here, so I'm going to end the video now. You didn't get much from Rex.
Sorry.
You've been scrolling through your phone. You want to add something here?
I'm just
waiting for me to stop monologuing.
Well, there's a lot of good points you made. But I think,
I typically make
whenever I see
points.
the iceberg principle used perfectly, it is almost exclusively in dialogue. When it's a short story, that it's all dialogue, commercially viable.
Well, the big question is whether or not you can do it effectively.
Right.
And that may be it's not commercially viable. It's not people are not responding well to it because it simply hasn't been done well. But that doesn't mean that you can't do it well. It means give it to your readers, get their feedback on it, take it to your writers group, try to understand what it is you're trying to do, and then listen to what they say to you and make those changes accordingly. Thanks for being patrons. Thanks for supporting the show. Sorry for the tech difficulties first thing this morning, but hopefully you're